3 times next year. The original plan was only 1 increase. I'm Tim McGuire, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 Chicago traffic update.
Starting off in Chesterton, where a rolled-over semi has US 12 blocked between Waverly Road and State Road 49, West 8094. Bumper to bumper from I-65 to Indianapolis Boulevard. On the northbound side of the tri-state, hefty from the Eden Spur Toll Plaza up to Duffy Lane, with a crash blocking 2 right lanes. The inbound side of the Eden stop and go from Tower down to the Kennedy Merge. Lake Oak Road down to the junction 3817 on the flip. Kennedy outbound, 29 to the split, 20 in the express, 52 to Weir. Inbound from the airport, 1 hour, 20 of that on in from the junction. Eisenhower either way, jam-packed. Between 390 and the Circle, hour and 8. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Hello, friends. This is Jason Bissell from Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee, Devon, and Nagel in Chicago. Well, the holidays are upon us, and there are a million things to do, but don't forget to take time for yourself. Acupuncture relieves stress, pain, and treats all sorts of disorders safely and without side effects. And if you have someone in your life who could benefit from acupuncture, giving them a gift certificate is a great way to get them started. At Chicago Community Acupuncture, we charge about half of what others charge. And don't worry about quality. We have the highest levels of training and over 25 years experience. Top quality acupuncture at an affordable price. Acupuncture has helped billions of people. It can help you too. Call us at 773-853-0920, 773-853-0920, or go to chicomacu.com, CHICOMACU.com. And happy holidays from your partners in health at Chicago Community Acupuncture.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us today on this unseasonably warm December 15th. And if you want to know when it was this warm in Chicago history, it would be 50 years ago, my first Christmas. That's how long it's been since it's been this warm on December 15th, over 60 degrees, about 65 degrees. And there's so much to talk about. I really want to talk more about what Joan and Paul Vallis were talking about. And we are keeping it local because we want to check in with Deputy Mayor John O'Malley, who joined us on the line. He's somebody who has grown up in Chicago, knows the city, has been in law enforcement, and we want to know, first of all, hi, Deputy Mayor, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Patty. How are you?
I'm doing all right. There's a lot of conversations about, safety is something that we're all concerned about. We see a lot in the news, and we want to learn more. First of all, what is the role of the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety?
So I look at it as liaison with the mayor's office, and all the public safety agencies. So obviously police, fire, the OEMC, which is our 911 center, COPA, Civilian of Offices of Police Accountability, Chicago Police Board, and soon the Commission Police Oversight that'll be starting in 2022. So sort of the translator, the liaison between all those agencies, the mayor's office, the mayor herself is the way I'm interpreting the position that I'm in right now.
And you come to this role with an extensive background in law enforcement. Can you tell folks a little bit about your role as the deputy marshal for this area?
Sure. So I spent just a little bit over 25 years, almost 26 years with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Marshal Service. I retired in 2015 as a Regional Director for the Witness Security Division, the Midwest Regional Chief, and I was the Chief Deputy of the Northern District of Illinois for years prior to that. So held numerous management positions with the U.S. Marshal Service in Northern District of Illinois, which covers Chicago, Rockford, down to Central Illinois, and all the way out west to Iowa.
So it's important to have that scope of knowledge and experience in a city like Chicago, where for years we have been the center of attention when it comes up. People ask, if I come in to visit Chicago, well, you got to be careful. I'm seeing all this violence. And of course, President Trump, when he was in office, made us, the butt of jokes, really a lot of derision towards us. But when it comes to every single day, the safety of Chicagoans, people are concerned. So how are we, it's the end of 2021. What are the crime rates? What do the numbers look like as we come to the end of the year?
Yeah, so, look, Patty, as you mentioned, I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Chicago. Made a decision to stay in Chicago, raise my family here, et cetera, et cetera. So the numbers are not good. I can just give you some numbers. As we sit here today on the 15th of December, we're at 775 homicides. We will most likely reach 800 or just below 800. That's up about 4.5% if you look at comparing those numbers to 2020. If we get near the 800 number, which we most likely will, that is probably the most homicides we've had since the mid 90s, 95, 96. Early 90s, 92, 93, 94, Chicago was just under 1,000 homicides. So we are, not numbers that we want to hear.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that out of those homicide numbers, so let's just use 800 as a potential end of the year 2021 number. About 83 to 85% of those homicides are contained in 3 areas of this police. So there's 5 different police areas which cover the 22 police districts. Areas 1 on the south, areas 2 on the south side, and area 4 on the west side. Those 3 areas out of the 5 have about 83 to 85% of not only the homicides but of the shootings. So shooting-wise, we're going to end the year close to 3,400 shootings, which will be up about 9% from 2020. Carjackings are not good either. We're at a little bit over 1,700 carjackings. A vast majority of cars taken in these episodes are recovered, and the Chicago Police Department has made many arrests of offenders of carjackings, of which about 60 to 65% of those arrested are juveniles, which is someone who's 17 years old or younger. Mm-hmm. And then, the Chicago Police Department for years, what we hear about clearance rates on homicides has been kind of fell off the radar a little bit, but I can tell you that in 2020, the homicide clearance rate across the city is at about 48%. And they've cleared over 350 cases, which is the highest in almost 18 years. So the detectives are out there working. The superintendent, we know that we need more people in the detective division. But when you do that, you take away from the patrol division, right? So we're working on looking at how we allocate the resources of the Chicago Police Department as we head into 2022.
Well, that's something that's on a lot of folks' minds. I live in Jefferson Park, where we have a lot of first responders, and I follow a lot of the neighborhood conversations on social media. We had a homicide right here at Lawrence and Central, and there have been a lot of shootings in our community, more than I can remember my entire life. And so when you talk about how we allocate resources in our police officers, what are the plans as we head into 2022 with the different agencies, obviously including the Chicago Police Department?
Sure. So, one of the things we were looking at in this fall as we head in, and what we need to do is start putting these plans in place now and not waiting traditionally until warm or weather hits, et cetera. And let me just touch on that, Patty. I also born and raised in Jefferson Park, and we are seeing violence that we haven't seen in other neighborhoods, right? Touching into every one of our 22 police districts have seen some level of violence and that we haven't seen. So that is being looked at. Why is that? Trying to get at those root causes. So we're looking at this rise in violence, much like the city did and the country did with the COVID, with the pandemic. So in August of this year, we created what we're calling the Community Safety Coordination Center. This is a physical location where we have representation from all city agencies, Department of Health, Park District, Streets and Sanitation, Water Department, libraries, Chicago Public Schools, and bringing in community organizations, active, registered community organizations to all sit at the same table to address short-term, immediate solutions and longer-term root causes of some of the violence, right? So this has never been done before. We kind of piloted it over the summer. And for certain, just real easy fixes, Patty, like we need lighting in this alley. We need these streets fixed because we've noticed that these guys are hanging out in this corner. What can we do? So getting everyone, this isn't a 2-week conversation with streets and sanitation. Someone's there immediately to address that concern. And that's proving to be fairly effective. So we want to build on that concept as we head into 2022. You know, there's the art funding. We're all hearing about art funding coming from the federal government. There's going to be $400 million dedicated over the next 3 to 4 years to an umbrella of public safety, street outreach, affordable housing, family and youth programming, health and wellness priorities, community development, Chicago Park District infrastructure, small business, workforce support, jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of money is being put into these 6 buckets, basically, to look at root causes. And I understand, I hear it every day, what is the city doing right now? I don't have time for these long-term solutions, long-term investment. I want to know what the city is doing right now. So we are looking at plans of what the police department can do, but then what also can we do with community members? Is it you need to join a block club? If you don't have a block club, start one. The city will help you fund that. You know, what are those proactive things that we can have the community do, like we did during COVID? Wear a mask, social distance, get vaccinated when the vaccinations were out, stay at home, save lives. Remember that campaign? It first went down. So looking at what do we tell the residents of every 77 neighborhoods, what can they physically, what can they do? How do they get involved so that we can all work? We're all in this together. This isn't the community against the mayor, the community against the police superintendent. We're all in this. So how do we wrap our hands around it and get down to why is an 11-year-old committing armed carjacking? How do we begin to even stop? How do we begin to wrap our heads around it? You know, I know you have children. I have a 12-year-old. I'm like, she barely can tie her shoes sometimes. I'm like, how do you organize doing an armed carjacking at 11 years old? So looking at all those things to try and get to, we can't just arrest our way out of it. We can't just put this 100% on the shoulders of the Chicago Police Department, because that is a recipe for failure.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, you know, having these conversations are important for, you know, progressives need to be in these conversations because it has to be a holistic approach. It has to be from, you know, whether, as you mentioned, community services, supports, you know, and also involving law enforcement and supporting law enforcement in jobs that most of us, I've talked to you about this, a job that most of us can't or won't do. You know, folks want to rail all day about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, and look, you know, after George Floyd, we saw the pendulum swing way in a certain direction, right? And you and I have talked about this in the past, Patty. Not one law enforcement officer that I know, we cringed when we saw that video of Derek Chauvin. Like, it practically made me sick to my stomach to actually believe that officer took that action. So, but we have to also understand, well, what I hear from everybody, west side, south side, north side, is that we want more police. So this charge of defund the police, get rid of the police, we don't want the police, that I think that narrative is now swinging out of that arena, not only here in Chicago, but across the country. That where do we find that balance, right? We have to find a balance of having the proper resources of police officers, having them constitutionally policed, which is a fancy word for meaning just do the right thing as a police officer. All right, the police department just put out a whole campaign of know your rights. What are your rights? Encourage people to go on CPD's Twitter account. It's out there. Look at some other social media. And you know, in my 26 years in law enforcement, everyone I came across in both state, federal, local county law enforcement, at the core, wanted to do the right thing, right? And this profession has been scrutinized from left to right, from top to bottom, and often by people who have never done the job. So there's that little bit of discourse there. We need to get that kind of balance, and I think we are. I think as we head into 2022, not only here in Chicago, but nationally, we'll start to see that pendulum swing back a little bit more to some balance.
We need to.
In the middle.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know that you're tight on time, and I appreciate you having this conversation with us because it is so vital. I have two more questions because one's come up, and I have wondered about this as well. Driving on the Kennedy and other parts of the city, seeing so much more tagging, so much more graffiti, just up and down some of the. I see retail stores, whether they're vacant or occupied, that are tagged. Is a lot of people feel like that's a sign of territory being marked for violence. That people feel unsafe seeing so much of that. And I just noticed one today on the Montrose Bridge on the Kennedy, where I'd never seen any.
Yeah, so I would encourage people to call. Just call 311. Call their local elected official, either alderman, whoever, because they can. Once they see that, we can get that addressed and have that removed. The city can do. My experience before I worked for the city was just to call 311 or report it out of via app, and that graffiti and those markings would be removed in fairly short order.
Great.
But it's also, I think, just brazenness of kids doing what they're doing. There's difference between artwork, and there's difference between graffiti art and graffiti gang graffiti or threatening graffiti. So I would just encourage people to start calling and report it right away so that either state of Illinois can address it or the city can address it.
I appreciate that. I have more questions for you, but I also am aware of your time, and people are starting to text in. If you ever have a chance to come in studio...
I'm okay on time as long as you are.
Oh, do you want to stay for another segment? Are you sure?
That's fine with me, Pam. I'm okay.
Oh, well, stand by then. I will take a break here. We are talking to Deputy Mayor John O'Malley. We're talking about the city of Chicago, of course, and what the law enforcement, what all the different elements that go into play when it comes to addressing the violence, the crime in our city. And I know people have questions, so let me see what I can do here as we take a break and continue our conversation on Driving at Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
It's not necessarily your age that's slowing down your metabolism. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical correspondent. There's this fascinating new study just published in the journal Science, which found that resting metabolism holds steady from age 20 to 60 before logging a decrease of around 1% per year after that. CNN fitness contributor Dana Santos says that should make you stop and think about what is really slowing down your metabolism. For starters, you need to be active throughout the day. You cannot be sedentary for 23 hours no matter how hard you exercise for that other 1 hour. 2, are you doing the right kind of exercise? High-intensity interval training and strength training both have been shown to have significant impacts on your metabolism. Santa says, last but not least, don't forget that sleep is going to be crucial for the recovery and restoration of your body. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Dell Technologies' end-of-year sale is the perfect time to upgrade tech. Save big on the latest computers featuring Windows 11 Pro that easily automate workflows. Don't forget to shop servers, storage, and top-brand electronics with savings up to 45% and all with free shipping. Call a Dell Technologies advisor to help you transform your digital workspaces with comprehensive end-to-end solutions. Find the right tech for your business needs at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Panera believes in saying yes. Yes to clean, fresh ingredients. Yes to the new chicken sausage and pepperoni flatbread topped with rich mozzarella. Yes to delicious mac and cheese. Yes to putting it on a sandwich, creating the grilled mac and cheese sandwich. And yes to impromptu road trips to Sandwich, Illinois. Because that's living life to the flavor fullest. Get $1 delivery when you order on our app. Panera. Live your yes. Pricing and product availability may vary. Visit PaneraBread.com.
listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820, and joining me on the line is Deputy Mayor of Public Safety John O'Malley, who is also, by the way, a musician. So that's a little bluegrass from our friend Chris Jones, by the way, John. He's really good.
That's a secret, Patty. You're not supposed to tell anyone that, but that's okay.
If it was a secret, you shouldn't have gone on social media with it. So,
that's right.
Look,
that's right.
you get to have a life, and it's a very stressful job that you've had, not just as deputy mayor, but throughout your career of trying to keep people safe, doing the work of serving communities. And one of the things that all of us have been reading about are the retail crimes and thefts downtown Chicago and in other areas of the Chicagoland area. But what retailers want protection. They want to know what's going to be done. What can people do? What is being done to curtail that, to address it?
Yeah, that's another huge problem. It sort of falls under the violence category. Some of these have been, we all see it. We all hear about these quick smash and grabs. We have had some actual physical confrontation with retailers or their employees. So that's another thing we're trying to tackle is the violence across the city, again, contained mostly on the south and west sides, but spreading into other areas. And then this retail theft, which is happening the vast majority of the time downtown. But then in other areas, Wicker Park, Bucktown, Clybourne Quarter, etc. So, I personally and others in the mayor's office are working with all kinds of business associations, the Mag Mile Association, the Loop Alliance, the West Loop Business Owners, BOMA, which is the Building Owners Management Association, the Illinois Retail Merchant Association, Illinois Restaurant Association. All these groups, I have had numerous meetings over the last 60 days or so to talk about. And again, what can we all do working together, thinking outside the box of what security do you have in place? Is there a way to increase like that physical security? Do you have cameras? Are they tied into the city system? If not, how do we get to that place? What are you doing with your merchandise? Is there something we can put it to the back of the store? Can it be chained up? What are the different options? And working towards those solutions, because again, I don't want them to feel like they're alone. What are we supposed to do? So looking at what can the city resources do? Downtown we have put more police presence visible. I can tell you there's things going on behind the scenes that I don't want to discuss openly.
Sure.
You could use your imagination on what that is, but the police department is taking it 100% seriously. Visibility, some covert things, and talking directly with these business owners so that we're all on the same page. If someone comes up with a good idea that, hey, we did A, B, and C, sharing that best practice to large stores like Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom's, to the mom and pop shop who maybe doesn't have a corporate background, a corporate funding, such as a Nordstrom's or a North Face or whatever, giving them some help when it comes to that. Working with the local, every Chicago police district, there's 22 districts. Each and every one of them has a business liaison sergeant whose job is to do nothing but the liaison, talk with, meet with, provide security assessments to business owners. So, unfortunately, a lot of the business owners I talked to, they said, we didn't know that. Who is my business liaison sergeant? And I'm able to say, boom, here's the link. Here is your business liaison sergeant. Call that sergeant immediately, set up a meeting, and come out and have those conversations. So that's, again, trying to be as proactive as we can, Patty, to try and reduce these retail thefts and try and prevent them on the front end. So that's the plan there, is just having these open conversations and this dialogue so everyone understands what the expectations are. We don't want to overpromise people, and we certainly want to make sure we're delivering the resources that the city can offer to them.
I appreciate your perspective and the work that you and all of our first responders do in our city to make sure that people are safe. And we need to continue to be vigilant, as you mentioned. And thank you for giving us some, choices and empowering people to feel like, whether it's the block clubs, and I want to know more about that coming in the coming weeks about how the city supports those block clubs and how to get them started. So that's something I really want to look into with you and let people know all that information, as well as reporting. If you see something, we know that it sounds corny, see something, say something, and be aware of your surroundings, be engaged. So I appreciate your time that you've given us today and your generosity with that, and would love to have you in studio when time allows. And above all, right now, I just want to wish you a happy holiday season.
I wish you a happy holiday season, Patty, as well, and I will definitely, let's keep this a regular thing, and I'll come in next time and we'll go see George.
We gotta go to the Gale Street Inn. Man, every time we bring it up, my stomach starts. I'm like, I need to have some of that.
I know.
Some of that his salmon. All right. Now we'll start talking about a Sazerac. Sazerac's on me. Have a great night, John. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Patty. Be safe.
Take care. You too. That was Deputy Mayor John O'Malley. I know some folks had questions for him. Norman, I couldn't get your line up. We sometimes have trouble with that first line, so I apologize. And I know that Dave was on hold. This was something that I was listening to a conversation earlier in the day. Dave, you wanted to talk about the Air Force discharging 22 people for refusing to get vaccinated. What were your thoughts on that?
27.
The 27. Yeah.
27 people that. For refusing, they had a date. I believe it was like November 2nd. They had, by that time to get the stuff done, and like the Army's got theirs is coming up. I believe this month, another few days, and they got I think January 18th is like drop dead date or something. But they're all pretty much they were first term, so probably enlisted, young. First time, enlistees, and they disobeying a lawful order. And
well, here's the thing:
discharged more than 27, but for other infractions, of disobeying and stuff. I believe I read in 21 alone they've discharged like about 1,500 airmen, for other. Other than the COVID, but
well, I think isn't it? It's encouraging that so many men and women in uniform are doing the right thing. That they're getting vaccinated to protect themselves, to protect their fellow soldiers. I think that that's the thing is that they want to be force ready, right? That's part of keeping us safe is staying safe, and that's the same thing I think that has finally gotten through the Chicago Police Department. I know more and more men and women are also getting vaccinated there, so the numbers to continue to increase, and that's positive.
Right. Well, I mean, especially on certain sensitive jobs, like if you figure like on a submarine crew, if you had one guy sick and infected the whole crew, that's mission oriented there, and just in for like you say, protecting on the lines. But and also, did you see where Kroger is ending their COVID benefits for some of their unvaccinated staff, where the
undocumented, isn't it? Undocumented,
will not receive.
Yep.
They won't get the 2-week emergency COVID leave or whatever. And, if they get infected, the company's going to begin charging them too, like $50 a month fee to the salaries, the unvaccinated salaried workers and the managers who are enrolled in that company health care. But unionized and the non-union hourly workers, they won't be charged that fee. And then lastly, I see where Google also is going to cut pay to their employees who aren't vaccinated. And eventually going to get fired. Maybe that's where I got the January 18th, from too, is that seems to be kind of a drop-dead date, the 18th of January.
Yeah, we'll see what happens then.
Valid exemptions, like medical or religious.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it seems as though the Supreme Court is not taking the religious exemption route. They're not allowing that to be an excuse to not get vaccinated. So that's it's promising. I've got to run to the traffic. I know there's some folks who might be on the road, so we want to get them updated. Thank you so much for checking in, Dave. Have a great evening.
Be well, Patty.
Take care. When we come back, we'll continue to take your calls. Norm, thanks for calling back. And Steve from the Gold Coast also on hold. If you want to join us, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT. More on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez after this.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
The inbound Eden solid from Tower down to the Kennedy Merge. Lake Oak Road down to the Junction 44, now 16 outbound. Kennedy outbound riding the brakes to Sayre. 28 to the Split 25 in the Express. 48 out to the airport. Inbound, it is jam-packed out of the O'Hare terminals to Montrose. O'Hare into downtown, hour and 8. 21 of that in from the Junction. Eisenhower in or out Popular. Between 390 and the Circle, hour 4. Now out on the Ike at Homan, just getting word of a crash. On the outbound side of the Stevenson. Stopping and going from the Ryan out to the Tri-State. The Saba Lakeshore Drive to 355, hour 2. The Ryan outbound is miserable. 1 hour from the Circle out to 95th. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Right now at Wendy's, see why everyone is raving about their brand new fries. Natural cut, skin on with a hint of sea salt and guaranteed to be hot and crispy or they'll replace them. You know, the way fries should be. Try Wendy's guaranteed hot and crispy fries today at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Well, Stephanie Miller here with a few words about something good that came out of the past year. Telehealth. I mean, personal health support on your phone. What's not to love? And guess who's waiting to take your call? The Tummy Whisperer. If you have any concerns about your stomach, digestion, or overall health, talk to Renee Barish. Her clients at Digestive Health Solutions use telehealth to get help with their symptoms, discomfort, and worry from the safety of their homes. A certified digestive health specialist, Renee helps her clients address issues like acid reflux, irregularity, allergies, joint inflammation. She identifies specific digestive and nutritional imbalances, develops a plan to improve your health all on your phone. And if you prefer an office visit, Renee follows all CDC pandemic protocols, including masks, temperature checks, and vigorous sanitation. Pick up your phone, schedule a telehealth visit today. Call Digestive Health Solutions at 847-207-2034. Renee will get you feeling better. That number again, 847-207-2034, or go to thetummywhisperer.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
We know you're not quick with opinions.
Well, that's not true, Chris. We're very quick with opinions over here on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. I have to roll that down fast, Lady B. Otherwise, I'll be sitting here listening to the whole song, and people are like, I had something to say, like Steve from the Gold Coast. Hey, Steve, how are you doing tonight?
Fine, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm making my way on the 405 in Southern California. So
what are you doing in California? But it's probably just as warm here as it is there, by the way.
Exactly. I know that's so wrong. that one day I'm here, and it's literally, my car says it's 57 degrees here on the 110 here.
I'll tell you something, Steve. It feels wrong here too. It's 65 degrees in December. It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. But I'm heading over to Orange County to meet with a couple of clients. For people who don't know it, Orange County is kind of their version of DuPage County. And in 2018, they actually managed to secure congressional seats. So it was a move in the right direction. Followed by a few scandals, but hey, we're Democrats, so that happens. So I'm here to discuss strategy moving forward. But in any case, I wanted to say something with regard to the issue of crime, because I think it's necessary to sort of, parse the kind of crime we're talking about. So there are the robberies that are taking place on the streets, and that's one kind of phenomenon. And then there are the smash and grab sort of organized groups that are out there, 2, 3, 4 cars, and that's quite well organized. And that's a different kind of crime. And then there are basically the masses of young people who organize online to say, 3, 4, 500 of us come downtown, and they can't catch all of us, so we'll go ahead and do X, Y, and Z. And so these are very different kinds of shall we say, phenomenon. And I don't know what the answer is, because, the reality is, what are we going to do? Are you going to, station 5 squad cars around the Louis Vuitton store? I mean, how would that play in terms of PR? Yes, Chicago PD protecting high-end purses. So, what is the answer here? I mean, private security, Then that's going to translate in certainly higher prices for those of us who live downtown. I know there's a discussion about some kind of a surcharge in and around Michigan Avenue that would allow the Merchants Association to hire private security. But again, how would you enforce? The 500-pound elephant in the room is that these are elements coming from the south and west sides of Chicago and so forth. So you'd be invariably opening yourself up to accusations of discrimination and whatnot if you decided to try and exclude people and say, well, you can't come here if you're from this community versus other communities. And I don't have the answer to these questions. All I know is, but it starts by asking the questions and sort of identifying the problems. Now, I will say that I'm convinced that part of this is still the remnant of COVID. We were in the right direction, heading in the right direction, and in 3 years prior to 2020, Chicago had seen a significant reduction in violent crime, including a 35% reduction in murder over those 3 years. And so we were heading in the right direction, and then came COVID. So I think we can turn it around. We already did that in those 3 years prior to COVID, and I think we can do it again. And those of us old enough to remember Chicago in the 70s, 80s, early 90s, we remember when it was bad, even worse than it is now. There are plenty of years where we were sitting there wondering whether we hit 1,000 in terms of homicide. And just a little bit of perspective on that, that's when the Saturday Night Special was the gun of choice, not the semi-automatic weapon. So
I remember.
If you would have handed people those weapons back then, you could have had 1,500, 2,000 dead, in a given year. So, yes, I know it's bad out there. Chicago has seen worse. And I just think that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it is going to require, some important public policy choices.
What do you think? I mean, we listening to the conversation with Paul Vallis and Joan because I really have thought this for a long time when Paul was talking about we need every community to have a school that is at the caliber of Whitney Young and Lane Tech and Peyton and the feeder schools. Because I'm both the product of a magnet school. I went to Lane Tech, and my son is in a magnet school at one of the best magnet schools, and that started for him. I started that when he was 4 years old, knowing that I wanted to make sure he had access to whatever school he wanted to go to. And parents don't often have those kinds of resources or time. And by resources, I mean I had the institutional knowledge of the school system. I knew people in all those offices. And, a lot of parents don't have the time or the resources or the institutional knowledge to get their kids into the schools. And then you end up having a school, like let's say Peyton has only 8% students are black. And that's disproportionate. We're not giving access. We're not, giving them the opportunities that a lot of kids like mine have.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have a niece and a nephew, both graduates of selective enrollment high schools, one Lane Tech. But, to be quite frank, I mean, they were the product of private school education until high school came around. And the way that the system works is you can then test into the selective enrollment high schools. Obviously, they had a great advantage because they went to private schools and then they tested in. But that's what a lot of parents do. It's they're investing a lot of money and resources into preparing their kids, and then their kids then can take those slots. And when you're trying to compete coming out of a public high school, it's really difficult, no matter how talented you are and how committed you are. And the reality is that Chicago has it's sort of a double-edged sword because we're gaining the kind of population of highly educated, high-income earners, and more and more people are wanting to raise their kids in Chicago. This wasn't true decades ago. People would come down here, they have a job, then they'd go ahead and meet somebody and move to the suburbs to raise the family. And that still happens. But for a significant number of people, they've chosen to be in Chicago, and they're sending their kids to those public schools. But then, who slots are those? And then what are you doing to sort of create a more egalitarian system? Because when mom and dad can hire a tutor and someone to help you test prep, and you come from a great private school, you're going to get into Lane Tech, and somebody else isn't.
Right.
And I don't know what the answer is other than to say invest more in the entire system.
Exactly.
But, who pays for that? And again,
I would say I think invest wisely. I don't know why we can't replicate the program. So Griffin went to all public schools from kindergarten on, and that was, but we knew, and this was something that Paul Vallis talked about, the programs that he helped initiate and other people as well. Even when I was a kid, there were gifted programs or schools, and but they're I don't know how many there are now. I think when Griffin was going into kindergarten, there were maybe 8, maybe 10 out of all the schools that we have, and that started with kindergarten. He was in an accelerated program, which has continued to benefit him all the way through high school, and I think that every child deserves that, and I think I think it can be done. I don't know how much more money they spend at a place like Decatur or Beaubien, right?
That's important. And I think that's an important point. But what we've done is the pendulum has swung back and forth over the course of our lives. So, when we were younger, they had the sort of, the honors classes and the things that benefit students who were college bound. They were special. And then, then we had this trend in which, tracking children is bad, and that's what this is. So you're setting these kids to succeed, and you're setting these kids to fail.
Exactly.
And so that's a bad idea. And so then we decided we wanted to reform that, and then we swung back the other way, saying, no, basically saying that a bunch of people failing is not a good idea. There are smart kids, and we can create advanced placement classes. New York has had this problem for decades now because, the most elite schools there are full of a bunch of young Jewish and Asian kids, and then a few other white Anglo-Saxon Protestant kids by and large, and that's it. And you don't see it very many Puerto Rican or African-American students in those schools. And, of course, that begs the question then, okay, who's this serving? Who are these elite schools serving? So I don't have the answer, but I certainly think that, it's just the notion that we've got to get away from the notion that it's somebody else's child's education.
Right.
All of us need to recognize that we have a vested interest in the education of every generation of young people, because they're the ones who are going to be doing the jobs when we're older, and they need to be qualified, and they're the basis of the foundation that builds our economy. So it's not just your child, it's other people's children, because when we can't fill the jobs and we don't have the research and development and the skill set to compete in a global economy, we all suffer. And, but unlike in Europe and many other places, they have a national school budget. So it's, the education your child gets in this town in France versus another town, it's pretty much egalitarian in terms of how much money is spent, that sort of thing. But in the United States, it's a function of how much your house is worth.
Yep, your property taxes.
North Shore,
yep.
You can go to New Trier, you get a great education. If you live in Harvey, Illinois, not so much.
Yeah. It's a great conversation we'll continue to have. Be safe on your travels, Steve. Thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate it, as always. Take care. Be safe. And I know, let's see if we can get Norman. Hi, Norman. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, sometimes I have trouble with one of the lines. Thank you so much for calling back and being patient. What was on your mind? I apologize that we couldn't get you on with the deputy mayor.
I called back because I really wanted to address it.
Yes.
The deputy mayor of public affairs.
Public safety.
And kind of compartmentalize all the things he said about, or decompartmentalize everything he said about the kids on the street, and we want block club, block club initiative, and everything's happening on the south side and then the west side. I would like to have gotten his opinion on when did they realize that this crime spree was going to be so bad. And I mean, because I realized that 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when they tore down the project on the south side and the west side, and all of these so-called gangs that were subjected to one area are now splitters all throughout Chicago, south side and west side. And it's almost as if they didn't know that was going to happen. And to me, I get frustrated. I don't even want them outside the community who said they're in the community, but they really have never lived in those communities to make a point of reference for why kids are out at 11 years old, out at night.
Yeah.
Late at night, carrying guns. I know why, because their parents are probably working odd jobs late at night. They're sticking out outside the home, and a lot of broken homes. And why is the south side and the west side and things like that, property values go down? Because the north side, a lot of the gun problems that happen, unfortunately, don't get reported by the news. The news reporters hang out on the south side and the west side and wait for something to happen. They don't hang out up north. I hear from other people on the north side all the time, gunshots. Somebody got killed over there. I said, wow, I never heard of it. Never came up on the news. No, because they want the property of the south side, and we've known that for years.
Yeah.
Property values for the south side and west side to go down. So what happens? after the property value goes down, like over at University, where they put in the Obama's library, that property is going down, and people from the suburbs are coming back in droves, and they're buying it up. And now the police are policing the area. You go over there now and try to panhandle on 63rd and King Drive, Cottage Grove, and you might get arrested. Before they were having parties on that street, drinking liquor and smoking, doing drugs and everything. So, unfortunately, people from the outside community, they have a lot of lip service. And I'm not taking anything away from the gentleman that said he doesn't know what to do. See, when you say you don't know what to do about the education of children, and you know that's what it is, then you take money from the police department and things like that. You put it in education, so you don't see those children. Somebody made a comment to me, and I think this is what's happening now with the police versus education. The comment was an asking comment. They said, you feed the people, you take the food away from people and feed them grass. They start complaining about the grass that you're feeding them. You feed them dirt, and they'd be happy to get the grass. And that's where we're at now. We're begging for pieces of crumbs of things that should come naturally, like education.
Yeah.
Whitney Young, you mentioned, used to be predominantly black high school. But you have vice presidents sending their kids to Whitney Young. I tried to get my daughter in Whitney Young, but she didn't want to go. But when we went to the orientation, they have people on their boards that are presidents of banks.
Yeah.
And it's really high up. They're like, why is your kid even in this school?
Right.
Come on. That's not one. Why is your kid even in this school? You should be able to pay for private school. And you'd be surprised if you sat in front of Whitney Young and you saw the cars and followed those people home. And a lot of people are influential people that you probably recognize by face. And you wouldn't recognize them just by driving up, that are really in the public eye. And the kids shouldn't even be with Whitney Young. So, I'm listening to all of this. It's lip service, and it's really frustrating. It really is.
It is. I can hear it in your voice, and all of that. I mean, Paul Vallis was talking about historic knowledge of our schools, and you mentioned, that Whitney Young at one point. I mean, they were still a good school. Again, I went to Lane, and it was our rival. But do you remember when Governor Rauner bought a condo so he could send his child to Peyton? I mean, that's a billionaire.
I work for banks that people buy condos over in Inglewood so they can send their kids to university. And I get it. You have the money. And some of these people are not wealthy. They just have to have an extra $2,000 a month to send their kid to buy a condo that they can pay for $2,000 a month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So him and his buddies can live there and not pay dorm fees. And I get that. But that's the option people have because they have an education to pay that extra money that will afford them to do extra things for their children.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I believe that we have the money. I think that we need to invest in the programs, and we need to keep having these conversations and keep pushing the people that make the choices.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Norman. I'm so glad that you called back.
Grassroots people need to start applying for political positions. Grassroots people need to start applying for political positions.
Yeah?
That's what he's at.
We need more.
Obama.
You got to roll our sleeves up and get in there. Norman, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you. We'll take a break here and come back. We'll head into the home stretch on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez. Jim, thanks for holding on. I'll get to your call when we come back.
Tried Eucrisa for mild to moderate eczema? It works at and below the skin surface and can be used on almost everybody, like on the dimples of a diva.
Yeah, roll your boat. Yeah, roll your boat.
Or the shoulders of a chef.
Look, Mom, I made jelly beans on toast.
Steroid-free Eucrisa works at and below the skin surface. It blocks PDE4 enzymes, which is believed to reduce inflammation, even on the wrist of a rebel.
What did you do to your hair?
What?
The specific way Eucrisa works is not well defined. Prescription Eucrisa for mild to moderate eczema is for topical use only in ages 3 months and up. Do not use if you are allergic to Eucrisa, crisaborole ointment 2%, or its ingredients. Allergic reactions including hives, itching, swelling, and redness may occur at or near the application site. The most common side effect is application site pain, such as burning or stinging.
Come on, moms and dads. Check out Eucrisa.com and ask your doctor about Eucrisa.
Can I sing one more song?
Hello, fellow progressives. Attorney Tony Moret here. You've been hearing from me for a few months now, and I've been hearing from you. As an estate planning attorney, I get a lot of questions. Estate planning can be confusing and sometimes a little scary. It's my job to guide you through the maze of paperwork, offer you options that best fit your family, and give you some peace of mind. The calls I've been getting from fellow WCPT listeners have been intelligent and thoughtful, exactly the kind of clients I cherish. Thank you for letting me draft your living trusts, wills, and protecting legacy for future generations. In my practice, facts matter, so advertising on WCPT is such a natural fit. Let me help you put together the right estate plan for your family, mindfully. Call me, Attorney Tony Moret, to schedule a free virtual consultation to keep all of us safe. 847-996-0496. That's 847-996-0496. Check out my website at moretlawoffice.com. Moret spelled M-O-R-E-E, and let's put your plan in motion.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, and we are heading into our home stretch before Devil's Advocate comes on, and we want to check in with Jim, who's been on hold for a little bit. I appreciate your patience. Jim, what's on your mind?
Hi, Patti.
Hi.
I just want to end on a cheery note. I think that this pill that they're developing will bring this pandemic to an end. If the people are reluctant to get the vaccine, I think if they have a pill developed, it'll keep people out of the hospital. This sounds very promising. I mean, throughout the entire populace of the world. It's not as hard to get the vaccine in the people's arms. I think they're developing a pill. I hope it's after Christmas that they get it developed so we have that as a backup, so keep everybody out of the hospital. I know people are reluctant to get this vaccine. I have no idea why, but the point is the pill would end it. At least for now.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar yet, Pfizer announced yesterday that its COVID pill was found to save off severe disease in key clinical trials, and it's likely to work against the highly mutated Omicron variant so far as well. So that's Pfizer says antiviral pill was found to reduce the risk of hospitalization and death by 88% when given to unvaccinated people at high risk of severe COVID within 5 days of the onset of symptoms. So yes, it's very promising, and I hope that
it's a very cheery note. And but I was going to say the one thing that come out of this pandemic, vaccines. They're even working on a vaccine, an anti-cancer vaccine, if you can believe that. So my point being that out of this terrible pandemic, there might be some good things happening, and that pill would really help everybody if they knew that they could take a pill and would keep them out of the hospital.
Exactly.
Anyway, I thought I'd end on a cheery note.
I appreciate it. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much.
You too, dear.
I think folks want to... Sorry about that, everybody. Sometimes I had to get so excited to push buttons and bring on listeners like Roosevelt, who's joining us. Hey, Roosevelt.
Patty.
Hey, Roosevelt.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I love Jim from Chicago, man. That guy was great. I have a lot of things in common with him, including our President Carter. Love that man.
I'm a fan, too.
That man.
Mm-hmm.
And the solar panels and the whole thing, I totally agree with him 100%. You're giving me bad memory of Rauner. That was precisely the same time that my daughter was trying to get into Walter Payton.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Roosevelt.
She took the test and missed it by 1 point.
No!
Oh, yeah. So she wound up in Jones Commercial, graduated from Jones Commercial.
Where's Jones Commercial or Jones Prep over downtown?
Jones Prep, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
that's a great school. That's a great. Yes. My son didn't want to go there because of the swimming pool. They have a swimming pool there, so he didn't want to go there.
Oh, really? Okay. I got one of those. One of my boys is like that.
Yep.
Hey, Patty, I wanted to talk about insurrection. And I'm asking you a rhetorical. Do you think that these guys in Congress, they know the laws, they know the history, they know everything? Did they think they were going to get away with it? They were all involved.
Hey.
Fox News, if this doesn't prove that Fox News is right behind everything that Trump did, I don't know what does. Next time I hear somebody saying that left-leaning media and all this, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's all these guys were involved. Hannity, all those guys were involved. If that doesn't... Go ahead.
No. Can you do me a favor? Because I want to take one more call. There's so much here, so many things I want to refer to. Because I never would think that I would be a fan of Lynn Cheney's, but Lynn.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling to me that we're here, and I want to have a bigger conversation about it. I've wanted to talk about it every single day this week, and we kind of have other topics that come up and guests. So let's spend time. I don't have anyone booked for tomorrow, so let's talk about this more. I may have one of our musical guests. But
have a good night.
You too. I want to find out what's on Don's mind, because it says holiday movie. So Don from Bridgeport is going to end on a good note, I believe. Hey, Don, how are you doing tonight?
Good, Patty. Thank you. Hey, movie 8-Bit Christmas. Saw it with my family, my kids and I. A great movie. You could watch it with all ages. Your kids, nobody feels uncomfortable. One of those movies.
Okay.
It's a great family movie. Funny as anything. It's set in like I'll give you the real quick 5-minute tour of it, like 1980s. A guy's a kid and he wants to get a Nintendo for Christmas. That's all he wants. When Nintendo was a big thing, and that was huge technology. I won't tell you what happens at the end. You got to see it for yourself. You'll love the movie. It's hysterical, and there's a great story, a great moral behind it. I can't tell you that now or give the movie away. But maybe after you see it, we can talk about that.
Okay, tell us one more time the name of the movie.
8-Bit Christmas.
8-Bit Christmas. Okay, I'm on it.
Thank you. Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, okay. I've seen clips for that, yes. Now I know what you're talking about.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Now we have a movie club going for Christmas. Have a great evening. Lady B, thank you so much for everything. Have a great night, everyone. We'll continue our conversation tomorrow as always. Devil's Advocate is up next. Bye.
This is the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy, while helping